Hey guys, how are you? Now today we are going to be talking about objection handling. So that's what we're going to spend time doing today, is talking about objection handling and how we're going to take care of our clients going forward, especially this year. It's going to be a very interesting year in terms of what changes will come in our profession. For those of you who have been to an objection handling session of mine before, I would love you to just say, I have been, so I know that you've been to my session before. If you haven't been to my session, just type me, so I know that you haven't been to a session. Alright, so when it comes to objection handling, I want to get one thing very clear, right? It is the third segment of the sales process. So it always starts with prospecting. How are you going to get your clients? Once you have managed to do your prospecting correctly, your next step is doing the right presentation. Now, when your choice of presentation is correct, the way you handle objections become easier. So let's get one thing very clear. The usual reason why objections come up is because your presentation is not clear. If your presentation is not clear, then one of the ways to handle that is use another presentation during the objection handling process. A lot of people don't realize that you could be doing multiple presentations to get a problem clear or solved. When we do objection handling, if our industry gets this correct, we have a higher closing ratio. The way you handle objections will affect your closing ratio. So guys, understand what the purpose is, right? Objection handling is a process, and if you haven't watched my video that I put up on the Facebook group, I want you to spend some time after this live event to watch that video. My team has already put up one of my videos that talks about the universal objection circle. So, alright, so if you have the objection playbook with you, it's on page number 51, where I talk about the universal objection circle. Now, the universal objection circle is a very important part in terms of the process that I follow with objection handling. Why? It starts with, instead of challenging your client, it starts with acknowledging that your client has an objection, right? So it always starts with acknowledging it. When we're talking about acknowledging, a lot of our clients feel that we don't really care about their perspective. Please understand your client's perspective. Spend some time to figure out what are they trying to say. Now, while I'm doing today's live, I would like to handle objections that you have. So if you do have objections, please put them in the comments so I can handle those objections for you live today itself. So today's session is for you. And as we go through today's session, I want you to spend some time to tell me where you get objections, what objections you get, so I can handle them real time, so we're not guessing, right? Spend some time to give me your objections that you have. Now, if you have friends who have not joined this group and you think they should be watching this live session, add them to the group. I'll have my team immediately accept them into the group so they can start watching this live video. I will not be keeping this live video for many days, so I will probably keep it for another 2 to 3 days. And the reason for that is I want you all to be practicing what I teach rather than trying to copy what I do. There's a very big difference between having your own strategy and using my strategy. So I want you to learn to build your own. Objection handling is a process. Once you get the process, you should be employing your own choice of words. Today, a lot of you are using my choice of words. I want you to have a natural choice of words from your side, and that only comes with practice. Have I always had the right words to say? The answer is no. Over a period of many years, I've been able to build the right words that I use for my personality style, and each one of you will have a different personality from mine. Now, this personality choice that you have, you will only be able to use it once you start practicing what you learn. So it's about a lot of practice, right? Now, so when it comes to acknowledgement, right? So the UOC starts with acknowledge. It goes on to asking the right question, providing a solution or an example, and then making it relatable. So that's the UOC, the universal objection circle. Now let's start with acknowledging. Some of the choice of words that I use when we're talking about acknowledging is, I would use words like I agree with you, or I understand what you're talking about, You could even use words like, you know what, I've done that before as well. So when someone says, for example, I need to ask my wife, right? There's nothing wrong with that. They actually should be getting their family involved when it comes to long-term financial decisions. So what's wrong with that? First of all, acknowledge it. I'm so glad you want your wife to be a part of this process. I'm so glad you want your husband to be a part of this process. They might say father, they might say father-in-law, they might say mother, mother-in-law. It doesn't matter. If they are involving their wife, husband, family members into the decision-making process, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's get that very clear. When you have a family member joining the meeting, it actually creates an opportunity for you to sell even more. Remember one thing, who's the real client? So think about it. Let's say the man buys life insurance, right? Who is the beneficiary? The wife. When the wife is the beneficiary, who is the one who actually gets the benefit? It's always about cost and benefit, right? So when you're looking at an insurance product, they will always say cost or benefit. Now, when you say cost and benefit, one of the strategies is understanding who's going to get that benefit. Family is the one that gets the maximum benefit when they buy an insurance product. It is not the person himself. So for example, let's say I buy life insurance. I actually don't get any benefit from it except my family is protected. So the real beneficiaries are your true clients. If they want the beneficiaries to be part of the sales process, what do you have to lose? Instead, you can potentially sell a little bit more. You can potentially actually upsell in that meeting, because I would ask the wife, if something did happen to your husband, do you want to be protected? And I don't know any rational mother who would not be worried about that, right? So it's about getting the right decision makers in there, and the real beneficiaries are your clients. A lot of people don't realize that. So when they say, I think you should buy insurance, it's actually not you should buy insurance, it's you should buy insurance for your family. You should buy insurance for your children. Doesn't mean that the children are insured. It means the person who's supposed to happen something, the breadwinner, the children are protected. So get that very correct, right? The other part about acknowledgement is understanding that everyone has their opinion. You have to learn to respect people's opinion. If you don't respect other people's opinion, they will feel that you're selfish, you don't understand them. So the process of acknowledgement only basically says, I accept your opinion. So when you acknowledge, get that out of the way. Now, the next part is asking the right question. Why is that important? Let's get this very clear. Asking a question is not important. Asking the right question is important. If you ask a question that is pretty dumb, right? I have seen people handling objections, and one of my concerns that I feel that I should address today is that when they ask questions, they're asking questions that are not relevant to the objection. For example, I'll give you a very simple example. I want to ask my wife. So let's stick to the easy one, right? I want to ask my wife. Well, I understand you want to ask your wife and actually she should be part of this process, but let me ask you a question. Does your wife not believe in insurance? That question has no relevance to this whole objection, right? Or asking a question that like, do you think your wife will say no? First put it in the right context, right? So I would say something like, well, every wife that I have met has always said that they want to make sure that their husbands are protected because the family is dependent on the husband. So every wife that I have spoken to has always told me that they would prefer their husbands to be protected. So I don't think any rational wife would say no. Very different story. It's about how you position and your choice of words. And that's why I said this only comes with practice. When you give me an objection, because of the practice that I've had, the number of clients I meet, the number of presentations I do on a daily basis, it allows me to practice the product, the presentation, the objections, and even closing strategies. Closing strategies are based purely on the way you handle objections. So if you handle objections very well, closing becomes easier. Let's be very clear about that. Objection handling is what we call a midway process. When you get an objection, you either go back towards a presentation or you go towards closing. So that's pretty much what happens. When someone gives you an objection, it will either lead to a close or it will lead to a presentation back. And that's why it's what we call the middle point. Once you get there, you either go back to giving another presentation, a small presentation, long presentation, depending on how complicated the objection is. I'll give you another very technical objection, right? One of a very technical objection that you get is, I believe the returns of an insurance policy or the returns of an annuity or returns of a saving plan are too low. And that's an objection. I'm sure, do you get objections like that? If yes, write I, so I know that you get an objection like that, because so that I know that I'm not the only one who gets these objections. So when I get objections like, Sanjay, I don't believe the returns in the insurance product are as high as that of other investments. When you get an objection like that, great. The reason why I'm looking at the comments you're giving so that it's easy for me to kind of reply back to you. Do invite your friends who you think should be part of watching this video, because it's about us sharing as a group, right? We as financial advisors should be aware about these skills that are required to be able to give good advice, get our message across. It's not that we don't sell the right product. The problem is a lot of us are not able to express in the right mannerism on how clients should behave with their money. A lot of our clients are aggressive in what they do best. So for example, they might be IT professionals. They're very good at what they do. But when it comes to their insurance, it is not their priority. Can we get that clear, right? I'm sure you've all experienced that insurance is not the priority for your clients. How many of you feel insurance is not the priority? Can you just write, I do, so I get an idea? I'm just going through the comments so it's easy for me to see what are the messages that you have sent. Great. All right. I'm just going through all the comments so that I know that what are the questions that are coming up. Now, there was a question that has happened is, so Rodney has asked a very interesting question. Let me look over this first and I will call you. It's a very common objection. How many of you get this objection? Let me look over this first and I will call you. Can you just say me so I understand it's you as well? Great. All right. So when a client tells you that, let me look over this first, one of the strategies or one of the ways to handle that is you first of all acknowledge it. Say, I'm sure you want to look over it. Not only that, give them the option that they should be sharing this with their family, who are the real beneficiaries. So I would actually tell them, I would recommend you have a conversation with family, not just you look over it. What I will do is, as a part of my service to you, is I will actually start the paperwork. The paperwork is purely a process that takes time because I don't know if this is the correct rate. Whatever I've shared with you is only applicable once the underwriters have agreed to it. So why don't I start the paperwork? It'll take me time, you take your time, and you've got free coverage in the process. So look over it, speak to whoever you want. It's not about being pushy, it's about giving them the opportunity to look over what they are doing. Everyone has the right to that. And getting them to start the process anyways takes time. So give them time to start the process. That's all right. I'm retiring soon and I don't want to commit to any more expenses. Cynthia, when a client is retiring very soon, one of the best ways to handle this is to give them single premium products, right? There's nothing wrong in doing a single premium product. It's not necessary that you have to do a regular premium product. You see, that's one of the other problems that we have is when someone says, I'm retiring soon and I don't want to commit to any more expenses. Well, Mr. Client, I'm glad you don't want to commit to any more expenses. We can do this as a one-off. That's your opportunity. So you've got a couple of options. Number one is you can do it as a one-off. You can pay it over a shorter span of time, like maybe 1 or 2 years. You can do it over 5 years, 10 years. So you have both opportunities or all opportunities because the requirement hasn't changed. Now, when you get something like this, it also means they've probably not understood the value of the product or the value of the advice you've given. Relook at your presentation. So don't get scared about that. Relook at your presentation. I'm also getting an objection that the returns are low. Okay, I'm going to talk about this. It's very important for us when we talk about returns, right? So what are the return? Which asset gives me the highest return? Equities, Some will say commodities like gold, some will say Bitcoin, some will say bonds. Everyone has a different way to get returns, but each asset class that you have will give you a different set of returns, and those different set of returns will affect your portfolio. This is one asset in your portfolio, so insurance cannot be compared to other products. I mean, you can't compare equities to bonds, you can't compare bonds to gold, you can't compare gold to fixed deposits. They're all different assets. So when you're comparing returns, you have to also compare the risk. Fixed deposits come with a certain asset. It's an asset that's guaranteed in capital, gives you a fixed rate of interest. You can't compare that to an equity, for example. So when you compare returns, you have to compare apple to apple. You're comparing apples to oranges. But by the way, the best way to have a balanced portfolio is to have all the assets in it. It's like when you want to have a fruit salad, you can't only put banana in the fruit salad, right? You have to put some banana, some apples, some pears, some oranges. And this is one more fruit in the fruit salad. And this fruit is what actually gives you the guarantees that the other fruits don't provide. Rofel has given a very nice objection. I've been rejected from another insurance company, took a lot of work of medical and financial support. I don't want to go through that same process again. Wow, Mr. Client, I actually understand that whole process is a very tough process. You see, insurance companies don't like to take risk that they don't understand. So even before I take you through that whole process, what I will do is I will go through that process alone. Give me the work that you had submitted last time and let me speak to my underwriters to see if you are even eligible at my company. So you're absolutely correct. There's no point in you going through the same work twice. Whatever you did the last time, give that to me. I'll check with my underwriters if they're interested in taking you as a case. If they are not interested, well, you're rejected anyways, right? And that's how you would handle that objection. Guys, if you have any friends who should be watching this video, share it with them, call them into the group so it's easy for them to watch this video, right? Sarah has asked a very interesting question. Why would I want to put my money in an annuity only to take back my money on a monthly basis after years later? Alright, the whole purpose of an annuity is to build a guaranteed flow of income. So whatever money you put into an annuity, it gives you a guaranteed flow of income. There are two ways to look at it. Number one is, do you want to drip your money down? So let's say I put all that money into a bank account and I start withdrawing that money over a period of time. That's one opportunity. The second is, if you don't know how long you will live, you will not know how much to withdraw every year. With an annuity, I can guarantee the monthly withdrawal for you forever. Not only that, it goes on forever because I don't know how long you live. Maybe 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. We don't know how long you will live. We are only living longer. So let's say I have $1 million as an example. And I say, okay, I will withdraw 5% of that $1 million every year. How long will that last you? It lasts you for a total of 20 years. And after 20 years, we have run out of capital. With an annuity, when you're taking a withdrawal out, it lasts forever. And that is the advantage of using an annuity. That is again about your presentation. You see, it's not really an objection. It only means your presentation did not make them understand the purpose of buying an annuity. So you need to go back to presentation rather than be worried about the objection. I got this objection just today before I go for a follow-up meeting. How should I handle this? Hi, thanks for the information. I have discussed with my wife and our conclusion is that we have sufficient coverage at this moment and we do not need to consider another financial protection. We will review our financial situation periodically, and if we need any assistance, we will definitely contact you. Okay, so when someone tells you, we have had a discussion internally, this is a decision we don't want to make, move on. There are two ways to handle it. You can either give them my book and tell them, here's the rule of thumb. So give them, okay, you know what, I've just realized, I think I need to write a book just for you all to be able to use whenever a client gives you an objection like that, because you can just give them that book and say, you know what, you can do it yourself. Here is a book that does do it yourself. Actually, you can use my 28,000 book. In the 28,000 book, I have actually written down how to do it yourself. When a client gives you an objection like that, there's no point in you challenging it or even rather acknowledge it. Tell them, Mr. Client, I absolutely understand that you guys have made that decision. Why don't I do one thing? I will I'll give you a book that is a DIY book. Guys, I have written a book specifically for this because I realized it's not just you, even my clients have the same question. So what I've done is I've written this book called the Financial Planning Playbook. All I have covered in this book is the rule of thumb. Because this is a very common objection that I've been receiving from my mentees as well. And I realized, you know what? Why don't I just give that book to all your clients? It makes life easy. So what I'm going to do today is, the person who just asked me this objection, I'm going to give this book to you for free. I'm going to get this sent to you as soon as it's ready. We have just got it. Let me note this down so I know who it is. All right, quick. So I'm going to get this book sent to you. I've discussed this with my wife. Give it to them. This is a DIY, do-it-yourself book. So that makes life easy for all your clients. For those of you who have my 28,000 book, you can even use that because I have written the formulas in that book on how to manage money. Okay, I have a client, very detailed person. She would read through the whole quotation proposal, her husband's new policy, and she asks question by question. And yet, to make decision, I lose as not sure what else to do. All right, Dennis, it is your client's choice to go through the terms and conditions and read word for word. I have a client like that. So the truth is, I have a client who is exactly like that. She went word by word. They actually call her the vampire because there are a lot of financial advisors who have tried to work with her in the past, and every financial advisor has been shot down. So when I met with her for the first time, I said, Auntie, by the way, she's a significantly older lady. I said, Auntie, let me get one thing very clear. You have the right to ask me any questions about my product. If there is any question about my product that I cannot answer, you have the right to tell me, Sanjay, I don't want to work with you. But if I answer all your questions, then you will follow my advice. Is that okay? You see, I've set expectations, guys. This is not an objection. This only means you're supposed to know your product. If she goes through your products and she knows more about your products, then there's something wrong. Can you imagine you go to a doctor where you know more about the medicine than the doctor himself? How would you feel? You would not trust that doctor, correct or not? So before you get scared about questions, learn to study your products. Guys, that is basic necessity. I expect you to know your products in and out. You can't be expecting your clients to not ask you questions. They have the absolute right to ask every question that they have from the proposal. And there is no question that is stupid. You should be able to answer every single question. I have an important announcement to make. For those of you who have been following me for some time, you probably know my newest book, the Financial Planning book, is ready, but we haven't launched it. This is a book I've written for you to give to your clients. In this book, I cover why should you buy insurance. I will convince them why insurance is important. I also cover how much insurance you should buy. I will show them how much insurance they really need just by answering 3 simple questions. I'm also covering the 5 stages of financial planning. I will run through them, the 5 stages of financial planning, so they themselves know where they are and what insurance they really need. Objection handling. I will even handle common objections that they have about insurance in this book, and the list goes on. In fact, when I wrote this book, the intention was for you to give it to your clients, and after reading it, they would come to you asking for advice instead. Now here's the truth. I spoke to my project manager about releasing the e-version of this book to the family, and he was against it. He said we spend close to 6 figures on production, and if we were to give it out as an e-book, we might not even break even at all. Also, people take free things for granted and would share it around. So we had a long meeting about it, and here's what I decided. For the very first time in the history of the Sanjay Mentoring family, we will be releasing an e-book, the Financial Planning book. Even if I lose money on it, it doesn't matter, because the profits that I gained from my books were actually donated to charity that I personally support, and I truly believe in supporting everyone during tough times. So here is how it will work. I'll be putting up the books for sale online. For $1, you'll be able to download the ebook version of the Financial Planning book. If you support the work, you can choose to pay $10 for the ebook version too. The idea is, I know there are many advisors and family who are not able to afford the book, and I want to help them. If you're willing to pay for shipping, we will ship out the hard copy to you. You just pay for shipping fees, but please understand the shipment might be slightly delayed due to the current situation. But rest assured, my team will do their best to make sure you get your hands on the book. Also, we will send you the ebook version. Here's a bonus we are throwing in. We'll be giving out Sanjay Mentoring Family Marketing Guide, which basically covers number 1, what you can do on social media. Number 2, how you can reach out to prospects online. Number 3, what are some of the content strategies you can do during this period of time that I'm doing for myself. This is what I want you to do when you download the ebook. Step 1, I want you to download the ebook together with a marketing guide created by my marketing team. Step 2, I want you to run through the material and see if there's any good content you can use to value add your clients. Step 3, I want you to send the e-version of the guide to your clients with the following message. Hey, Mr. or Miss Client, I know this is a period of uncertainty right now. I have clients who are truly worried about how COVID-19 will affect their lives and finances. If you are worried too, don't worry, you're not alone. Let us go through this tough period together, and if you need someone to talk in the meantime, let me know. I will be here for you. I've attached a financial planning book which I believe will help you understand about financial planning better. Spend time reading page 76. I think the information will help you a lot. Let's catch up soon. The idea is to truly value add your clients during this period and assure them you will be there for them. I hope you are happy with this arrangement. If you want to grab yourself a copy of the book, please share this video, comment and tag your friends. I want to value add my clients with add 3 friends name. My team will reach out to you and send you the link. If you find value in this video, the best way to thank me will be to share this video with other advisors around you. Together, I'm confident we can get through this tough time positively. Remember, you are not alone. The family is always here to support you. Remember, growth is painful. Change is painful, but nothing is as painful as getting stuck. Sure, you can sit down and wait for the markets to get better. But remember, inaction doesn't mean safety is uncertain times like this. Rather than hoping things get better, why not spend time to build a foundation which is strong and position yourself for growth when it comes about? Together, let's make financial planning easier and happier for everyone.